The other film that I watched, I got to see the On the Road sneak preview at the cinema. I had never read the book On the Road. I had no idea what the story was. I assumed it was about someone on the road.
Sure.
I totally get it now. I totally get why this book had the impact that it had on society. And when we talked about this film a few weeks ago, Jason, we said, I've listed off the names. I was like, I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure who that is. I will never mistake this. I will know who this person is for the rest of my life. Garrett Hedlund. He was the guy in Tron Legacy. He was the son, the young, whatever. He's amazing in this movie. He plays the Dean character, which the story kind of revolves around Dean. He's amazing. If he really needs to get it, not necessarily a nomination, but people should be talking about him in the mix for Best Actor. He really is amazing in this film. Kristen Stewart, who's someone I normally don't think of much at all, she was really good in this film. Honestly, I think Viggo Mortensen might get a nomination off of this as well. He's amazing as Old Bull Lee. Just the whole film. I wish I was an academic so that I could write like papers about this film, because it really is something special, and people should really take a look at it. And hearing Walter Salles talk about it after the film was even better, because he spent like 6-7 years working on this movie, just like trying to figure out how to make it work, and talking to the people who the characters were based on to see what they said, and going through all this, and trying to figure out what to cut out from the book, because I've started reading the book now because I just have to, and just reading these stories in the book and seeing how it translated to the film. It's an excellent film, and an excellent encapsulation of, I think, what that book is really about.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you're hearing that about a lot of sort of movies now that are getting adapted from books. It seems like the filmmakers are really taking their time to make sure that they can tell the story. Like, I hear the same thing for Life of Pi. It's the exact same thing I keep hearing, is like people really like the book, and then there was people that couldn't get into the book that saw the movie, and they're like, okay, I totally, I get sort of what's going on here. So it's really refreshing to hear that sort of these directors are, and that's obviously not the only example, but they're taking their time to really sort of make sure that what gets on screen is, it's going to entertain people, but also sort of get back to what the book was about. And so I missed it. I was out of town that evening, so I'm really excited to see it, because I've been a fan of his work for a long time now. Yeah,
and the other thing that was interesting was that as he talked about the actors, it was interesting. Kristen Stewart was cast in that movie like 6 years ago.
Wow.
Like, he had the cast set in stone before any of these people were known as anyone. Kristen Stewart and Garrett Hedlund had both been in the film for the entire process, and Garrett Hedlund would call him up and say, "Are you shooting this week? Because are you starting shooting the next 6 months? Because I got this other thing that I gotta take this job if you're not shooting." And so he would do that, and Viggo Mortensen came in at the very last minute. And the other thing I really found interesting was that almost every single one of these actors, Kristen Dunst is in it as well, were talking about how much they loved the book. And that's sort of how a lot of them got cast. Kristen Stewart was cast because she could talk really intelligently about the book and could talk about her character in the film, and how this character could relate to a modern audience. And, the book sort of paints her. Someone in the audience actually sort of made this comment that, like, well, there's really not a strong female character in there. And so Walter Salles talked about how Kristen Stewart sort of made the argument that her character, and Mary Lou was her character, that character was sort of a little ahead of her time. And even though the men might have treated her in sort of the shabby way, she actually was sort of a template almost for, a more modern woman who wasn't necessarily attached to a particular man or particular job or location. But, I just totally understand why this book just changed the, a kid in 1957 in like my hometown, Columbus, Indiana, reading this book and it's like, I can do that? Like, I can live like this. I can just go somewhere, and I don't have to, I don't have to live by the rules that everyone's told me I have to. I totally understand why this book was such a big deal. And I think everyone should take a look at the film just to kind of get a sense of that. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.